Anthony Melchiori, so excited to see you. We got Hilton in the house today. What do you think about that?
Hilton in the house!
What?
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Lives. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, man, it's so great to see you. How's that water treating you?
It was good until I went. Until I spilled it all over myself trying to get ready to make believe I'm not drinking water.
Listen, I haven't seen a good spit take in years. I'm really glad we do this. If you guys don't know what a spit take is, look up Danny Thomas, an old comedian who did all that. And I'm very excited today, Anthony. You know, on Tuesday, we did a great show with Scott Sabella, the president of Resorts World, and Hilton is putting 3 different hotel concepts in there. And we've got their president, Danny Hughes, the president of Americas of Hilton, on to discuss it. Plus, we're going to be speaking with Laura Schofield over at the hotel that's not actually behind me right now, the D.C. Conrad Hotel. All right, so before we get going, guys, you know what I got to talk about. You know you're really frustrated that you haven't made as much money last year. So why are you still paying the same amount in property taxes? Well, Bright Support is here to help you with your tax assessments. Just takes 5 minutes to start. There's no risk. Don't miss this opportunity to reduce a large operating expense and book your free 30-minute consultation right now at brightsupport.net/hotels or give them a call at 833-411-2233. Do this now. I'm telling you, you got nothing to lose, but lots of money you could possibly save. And also, you guys know we love Ecotech over there. Their disposable trash cans, for example. I got this bad boy right in front of me. It's absolutely perfect. And it won't make your head look as shiny as mine does now. I absolutely promise you. Go check them out at ecotech.com. Let's bring Anthony back in right now. Anthony, I know you love those. Those waste disposals. You use them in your home, and it's great to see them wherever we go.
It's amazing. The more I have, the more garbage I have.
Excellent. Mine's actually filled with all sorts of recyclables right now. Beer and cookies, all the valuable stuff I got going on there. And also, Anthony, before we bring on Danny, I just got to tell you, I'm stoked. I got a hard copy of this first ever book.
Oh.
Look, my name's on a book cover. How freaking awesome.
Wow. And Glenn, why is his come up? Why is his bigger than yours? I don't like that.
Because I contributed to it. He did a lot of the hard work.
Oh, okay. Like this show. You contribute, I do all the hard work.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Go check our new website out, theadapters.net. Find it on amazon.com. We're going to have Sean on here next week to talk about the adapters, one of which is the incredible Anthony Melchiori. I should have had the page done in here, but we'll read it next week. Some great quotes that you gave us for
So what is, just in a minute or less, what is the adapters? What is the book about?
Conversations and insight with the gutsy genius thinkers that are driving the fourth age of change, one experience at a time in travel, hospitality, and all of our associated businesses. It's really great stuff. Someone else, Anthony, driving big change, helping move our industry forward. Somebody who I really love and respect a lot, Mr. Danny Hughes, right here, right now, president of Hilton Americas. Great to see you, sir.
Great to see you, Glenn. Great to see you, Anthony. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Great to see you again.
How does a British guy get to be president of Hilton Americas?
This is America. It's the land of opportunity. Anything's possible here. You know, if you work hard and God gives you health, world's your oyster.
Right. Excellent. I'd really like to start off our conversation based on what I was just saying during the intro. You guys made a blockbuster deal. You're getting back into the Las Vegas market. To me, that I think is a psychological boost for the entire brand. 3 hotels under 3 different brand names. Tell us a little bit more about that to get us started, Danny.
You know, you're so right. I can't remember being so excited about a single deal as I am with this. As you all know, and your audience knows, Hilton has an incredible storied history in Vegas. I think, you know, in certain ways, I think we were part of legitimizing Vegas. We all know how Vegas started. A lot of entrepreneurial people in many forms of business.
Hey, don't talk about my uncles that way.
But it's true. I mean, there was a dream started, you know, in the desert there, and it came to life. And then I think when the Hilton Las Vegas came there, it brought a certain credibility and legitimacy to it We all know the stories. Really, people don't know this, but kind of the idea of a residency, of a performing artist performing a residency, really kind of started with Elvis Presley at the Las Vegas Hilton.
Oh,
Sure
really?
did.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so much history there. And the reality is, over the last couple of decades, for lots of reasons, we haven't had the presence we want to. So about 3 years ago, we made a concerted effort to say we need to be in Vegas. Started out with the Waldorf Astoria that we opened a couple of years ago that's just booming. We've now done 2 exciting deals that are going to open this year. We got the Virgin Hotel which is the old Hard Rock Hotel, opening in a couple of months. And then kind of the granddaddy of them all, we teamed up with Resorts World, as you said, Hilton, a Conrad, and our LXR property. And we are over the moon about it. Scott, you're talking about Scott. Scott and I were on the phone a lot yesterday, kind of planning out the launch. And I think you are spot on. This is kind of symbolic to me about tourism's opening up. Is there a city in the world that represents tourism like Vegas? No.
No,
And as Vegas is coming back, and we're going to be there with them. So excited.
I gotta tell you something. I really respect what they did because they shut down quick. And when they shut down, I was like, what? Vegas is shut down? But when they opened the right way. I've traveled a little bit, and I think Vegas has got it perfect. I feel safe. I feel secure. But I feel like it's still Vegas. I'm not a club guy anyway, so it's not a big deal if the clubs aren't open. But it's absolutely amazing how they've done it. Glenn and I have been to 2 or 3 other places, other states, and they're just not getting it right. They kind of have it, but they really didn't have it. But Vegas, it feels like it really never changed outside of wearing a mask. I mean, I was really, really impressed with the way the city handled it.
And a few more places I could wash my hands, which is great. But other than that, it's got that same feeling. But Danny, this is great. I mean, that project had a bunch of different delays, but it seems like they're all working in the favor for Genting Corporation, which is the Malaysian ownership group that has that. And for you, because you're going to be debuting this summer there, just when tourism is really going to get rocking and rolling, putting you in a great position over there.
Yeah, and I agree. Timing, sometimes you get lucky, and there's always a bright spot in any dark period. And I think timing couldn't be better as Vegas opens up. The hotel's going to be fabulous, and it's going to be fabulous and symbolic, not only for that hotel itself, but for our position in Vegas. And quite frankly, I think we're a part of that Vegas story again. The funny, interesting, fun little fact.
Yeah,
this is going to be the first city in the world where we have all 3 of our luxury brands, a Waldorf, a Conrad, and an LXR hotel. So that's the other thing. I think, again, Vegas had some great hotels, but bringing this kind of elevated luxury level to it is even more so. Couldn't be more excited about that.
Very few cities in the world can handle 3 luxury brands within a couple of miles of each other in the same family. So just tells you about the strength of your brand, the strength of Vegas. But the location of the property, not a good location at all.
Well, it's a location. It's ahead of its time a little bit. That's what I'm telling you. It's
location.
It's fabulous.
Center? Oh my God!
So let me tell you something. The convention center that we're adjacent to, and it has, and I'm sure Scott told you, has this underground connection with a constant streaming of driverless Tesla cars.
Yep.
This is not like, so many places, jamming onto a bus and then dealing with the traffic to get, to the convention center half a mile away. You're getting it. It's going to be fabulous. And I think, we all need that big convention business to come back. That's kind of the last on the recovery. You've got leisure first, then business travel, but that convention stuff will come back. And I think it'll be a big success for a long, long time.
Now, we talked about this extensively with Scott Zabella on Tuesday's show. He's, of course, the president of Resorts World. Check that out. If you want to know exactly what Danny's talking about, take a look at this map. To the right side of your screen right there is where the convention center expansion is. So it's really premium location right now. So, Danny, this year, it's been crazy last 12 months, right? We're hitting the 12-month anniversary of all this stuff that's been going on. What was it like for you early on grappling with this? And in contrast, how are you feeling right now as it feels like we're really getting the engine started again, finally?
So let me answer that the second question first, Glenn, if I can. I am feeling a whole heck of a lot better than I did last week and last month. I mean, I kind of talk about it as there's three things. There's desire, need, and capability. Unbelievable pent-up need, a desire for people to travel. Every single one of us on this call has dozens of stories of something we had to cancel. You know, the one I always tell is I was taking my 13-year-old son to see the Rolling Stones in Tampa.
Right.
And I was taking him kicking and screaming. You know, it's like the Rolling Stones. Did they have telephones when they were around? I mean, it was. But I was determined that when he was my age, you know, he's going to sound cool by saying, "Yeah, my old man took me to see the Stones."
Right.
So I was forcing him to come. That had to be cancelled, of course. And there's millions of stories like that. Every one of us has it. And we all talk to our friends, we've got so many things we had to cancel. That desire and that pent-up demand to get out and travel is huge. But there's also the need. You know, all companies are talking about, you know, we're going to be a little more restrictive on our travel budgets and all that. Here's my view on this. Competition's a beautiful thing. Everybody's going to restricting travel until your competitors make you more sales.
Right.
And when people get out there, they're going to start doing business. A lot of individual small businesses that don't have the support structure from a big company, they need to get out there. They need to do business. So you couple the desire and the need to travel with the capability that's coming in terms of airlines putting on more routes. You know, they're recognizing it. There's more air capacity with a comfort level that more and more people are getting vaccinated. Herd immunity is a real thing. Everybody's now got this right, whether it be a car rental company, a hotel company, an airline, public transport, they've got the safety precautions right. So now you've got desire, need, and capability. I'm feeling that we're on the cusp of, and I'm, you know, very anecdotally, but I think Q2 is going to be gradual. I think the second half of this year, we could see substantial increase in travel and business for our hotels.
What I'm seeing is the hotels I consult with in some markets, I think you're going to have record numbers. I see that the hotels, some of the ones that we consult for, are going to see average rates and occupancies that have never been seen before. We already see it. We're increasing in several of these hotels by $50, $60, $70. And the occupancy and the pacing hasn't stopped. Like the pacing is usually when you increase, you know, that much in a hotel that isn't used to those kind of rates, you basically stop the demand until it gets into season. Well, it hasn't stopped it.
No, it hasn't. I do think that the type of business that we're seeing is still a challenge for us to get back to the true RevPAR. You know,
Sure.
This recovery is being led by leisure.
Sure.
People, it's leisure travelers that already started traveling, you know, in the summer, now traveling more, they're getting out there, and they're great. But, you know, by the very nature of leisure travel, you're going there for a reason, to see friends or see an attraction, meaning you're not necessarily spending all your money in the hotel. Second phase is going to be individual business travel, which is great. But what the industry needs to create that compression and that base that we can drive up there is all the group business. And that's going to be the last bit of the business to recover. So I agree with you, Anthony. Demand's looking great, but it's still going to take a while for us to get the compression levels because of the group.
Okay, the word I hate the most that everybody's saying, and I hate the word, I can't believe I'm going to say it, pleasure?
Yeah.
Can we
it's a real thing, though. It's funny. I'm starting, as I told you before we came on camera, I'm traveling a lot already, have a whole regime of protocol and testing and isolation, travel more. But it's been very limited with my family, but we've already booked a couple of trips. You know, I have to go to Orlando next month. We're tacking on. My family are going to join me. We're going to enjoy extra stuff. So and we're kind of reacting to, I think the whole industry is getting smart in their flexibility, their marketing, you know, understanding that we can do things differently. So it's a real thing. But I agree with you. Funny sounding word.
Yeah.
Another sign that things are coming back, speaking of Orlando, is that Universal's Epic Universe project is now back on. That's going to create thousands of jobs. Great opportunity for that particular market when it opens up in 24, 25. But again, it shows we're moving in the right direction. So, Danny, instead of me going back to the question about how blah things were a year ago, what are your owners thinking about right now? How are you working with them to get the engines of opportunity really revved up, so you guys could all make the most of 2021?
Yeah, so let me give you just the base to tell you kind of what we did in 1 minute, and then answer the question where we are now. I look on it, to try and make it as succinct as possible in a bunch of re's. There's like 5 re's. Initially, we had to respond. We all have contingency plans for natural disasters, hurricanes, social unrest, disturbance. Nobody has contingency plans for the world to stop traveling.
Right.
Which, I'm exaggerating a bit, but as you all know, not much. Basically the world stopped traveling. So we had to respond very, very quickly. First of all, protecting our team members. Secondly, making sure we're protecting our owners from shoring up liquidity and doing all sorts of things. We gave a huge amount of relief, as a big franchisor and manager. We did a huge amount of effort to temporarily relieve standards, different kinds of fees. We responded quickly. We also had to respond to our communities, because unlike other forms of business, as again, you all know, when you build a hotel, it's there. You can't say, okay, demand's not there, we'll divert the plane or divert the cruise ship. It's there, good times and bad. And one of the things we saw right away is that whilst everybody stopped traveling, there was a huge need for the first responders and medical professionals that were rushing into harm's way. And at that time, there were no vaccines. Nobody understood what they were rushing into. And we had loads of empty hotel rooms. So immediately, we made a million rooms available, free for first responders and medical staff to stay in. So it's responding. We then had to reinvent the business.
Right.
We had to reinvent it. Hotels were always clean, but we had to up our game. So we partnered with the Mayo Clinic and with Lysol to get great protocols and great products to make sure that those guests that were traveling felt safe. We had to reinvent food and beverage. In the middle of a pandemic, nobody's interested in a room service trolley being wheeled into their room.
Right.
But you still need food in your room because every restaurant in town's shut. Mm-hmm. So reinventing room service to high-class food delivery. So we had to reinvent. And the last thing on that reinventing, it was kind of an acceleration of a lot of trends that are already in place.
Thank you for underscoring everything we've been saying for the last year on the show. Appreciate it.
It's like contactless check-in, using digital key, customizing your event in advance without. So we put all of that on steroids. Next, we had to restructure. That the sad part of the business, we had to rationalize our labor force.
Right.
We had to we had to focus on our owners surviving. We had to be advocates for them when talking to the authorities to try and influence as much relief as we could. We never asked for a penny for Hilton. We never asked any government body for a penny for us.
Wow.
But we were huge advocates for our owners. Right. All the PPE loans and everything else like that we were advocates for them. And now we're focused on the next which is the funnest one, which is recovery. And we can talk all about that. And the last I'll tell you, though, is we never forget our values. I'm biased. I've been with this company over 30 years, but I remind myself at least, once a day, what our founder said 60 years ago, which to me is still the coolest vision statement ever. He said, we're in the business of spreading the light and warmth of hospitality around the world. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
And ultimately, we're in hospitality. We're not in the accommodation business. We're not in we're in hospitality. And if we keep reminding ourselves of that during the recovery, then we'll get there.
I was with a bunch of people this week that we've all been in the business 30 years, and we all have the same enthusiasm. And when I hear you speak, you sound like you just came into the business last week and you're trying to get promoted to supervisor. It's like you still have that incredible enthusiasm for this business.
What's funny, Anthony? It's interesting. Over the last several months, it's almost like I've had such a level of enthusiasm and belief and excitement, quite frankly, because we are getting to reinvent our business. I hope we never again have the chance to build up from losing 80% of our revenue. But when you do get it, you get the chance to do something special with really special people. You're going to talk to one of them in a minute, Laura. But, in the middle of the pandemic, when there's so many people suffering, it was kind of like temper that enthusiasm, right? You don't want to seem like overexcited. But the reality is that I think, God willing, we're through the worst of it from a medical point of view. And now, listen, future's so bright, I got to get my sunglasses on. I think it's going to be fabulous.
The whole time we went through this, Glenn and I, we were just like everybody else. The first couple of weeks, we were like, what just hit us? But then we were, authentically enthusiastic that everything is going to come back and we're going to be bigger, better than ever. Never once did we feel forced. I don't think it felt forced from Glenn. I know it didn't feel forced from me. The enthusiasm and positivity we have for this industry. And again, flying around, you're seeing people go back to what they're used to. And people are shaking hands, they're kissing, they're hugging, they're walking the streets. They want to go into the restaurants. They want to go into the bars. And in some states, they're already doing that. New York, you're already starting to see people feeling better. I'm telling you, people are getting vaccinated. I can't believe the pace that everybody I'm talking to is getting vaccinated or has been vaccinated. So it's going to happen. And the good news is the people that were in the stock market over the last year actually have some money to go on vacation with.
Yeah, that's true. But it goes back to what my fundamental belief is: desire and need. Huge desire to get at that and interact. And people need to get back to business. I mean, it's as simple as that. So, but hey, Anthony, I have to tell you one thing though, at the risk of thanking you publicly. I mean, when I say remembering our values, throughout this whole thing, we've tried to do that. One of our initiatives, as you know very well, is a few years ago, we launched Operation Opportunity to try and recruit 20,000 veterans who are transitioning back onto Civvy Street or their spouses. You've been a huge supporter of that. Anthony and I were on the phone just a couple of months ago with thousands of our veterans that work for us. And you've been a huge supporter of that, my friend. And thank you for all you've done on that.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I really enjoyed that. And one of the things I was going to ask you off air, but I ask you now, is when you're opening in the resorts, maybe we can do some type of something for military. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Please use me during the opening any way you can. And I would love to be hanging out with a bunch of military people and helping them transition. When I made that transition, it was scary, but I was very fortunate. I mean, I was able to get a job. I was very persistent, and it took off right away. But it's scary. When I was at Ranger School a couple of years ago, talking to all the Rangers that were getting out, and you can just see the fear in their eyes of how did you do it? And it was like, well, you're in the military. You do really hard things. This shouldn't be as hard as what you do in the military. And it's like just believe in your training, believe in yourself, and like you said, believe in your country, and everything will work out. So anyway, anytime, 4:00 in the morning, you call me, I'll show up for anything military.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so Danny, we were talking a little bit about all those re's, and what Anthony and I have been talking about for the last year on the show, the great reset button that society has hit, and how you, in particular, as a company, are leveraging it. You talked about all of the changes, but how do you see the company operating differently in the future based on all the lessons you learned that'll get people more engaged in the brand, get owners more excited about it, and create better experiences for guests and profitability?
Yeah. So I think three things. One, it is a continuation of a lot of the trends we've already been seeing,
right,
in terms of the mixing of the digital world. But again, we're not an app. We're not a manufacturing company. We are in the service business,
right?
People serving people. So the challenge for us, and quite frankly, the fabulous opportunity, is to merge the digital experience with the physical experience. And we make up this silly little word, phygital. And that's what we're focused on. So allowing everybody to customize every element of their stay, the particular room you want to stay in, the view, what you want in your minibar or don't, what type of pillows you have, not check in at forever. The hotel industry has been, check in at 4:00, check out at 11:00. Why? If we have the ability now, and what happens with all of this capability, it helps us be more efficient. So if you can help the guest by allowing them to customize everything, it helps us be more efficient. That if we know, down the road, everybody, and we're not there yet, but down the road, a lot more people will tell us when they're going to arrive and when they want to arrive, we can schedule better. If we can allow them to do, things like the actual check-in, not running credit cards online, choosing their room, it means we can get out from behind the desk and actually have true hospitality again.
Right.
And again, we can find this beautiful level of supporting the consumer, making it more efficient for the owner and developer of the hotel. We can open more and more hotels, which means we can get all these team members that got laid off back to work and help the economy. And it's this virtual cycle. So to me, it's flexibility, it's creativity, and it's unleashing innovation about how we reinvent things. And the one thing I'll tell you, and then I'll shut up because I do get enthusiastic about this. Innovation doesn't come from me and my colleagues sitting in head office here. It comes from the people on the front line. Our hotels, and like the lady you're going to talk to in a minute and bring on one of our general managers, they never got to work remotely. You don't get to, make beds remotely or cook food remotely or virtually. They've been on the front lines all the time. And from day one, we had everybody together and say, now's the time to unleash your creativity, show true innovation. And innovation happens at the hotel level. Every great idea happens at a hotel level. Some dude in Puerto Rico 60 years ago mixed coconut juice and rum and invented the pina colada. And there's a million examples like that. And I'm sure Anthony would agree to me that, it's people. It's people on the ground, unleashing creativity, having an ownership and a passion. And that's what's going to lead us out of this.
So how do you make sure that technology doesn't overcome humanity to impinge upon the customer experience?
Yeah, we look on technology as an enabler. Honestly, it's not replacing things. It's if we can do the things that, are a hassle. If we can eliminate the lines to check in at the front desk, if we can eliminate the trying to get hold of somebody because, your light bulb's gone in your room, if we can eliminate the phone call to say, listen, my good example, my wife's just had a hip replacement. I need a room close to the elevator, so when we get out there, if you can do all of that electronically, then actually you're improving guest experience, but then empowering people to be people. I always use this great example. For 1 million years, right, since we've had hospitality, what does the front desk clerk, where are the front desk clerk's eyes when they're checking you in? They're down because they're looking at their screen. We're raising the eyes of all of our employees because they're not doing that kind of manual work. So this is where merging digital and the physical in this digital world. We're in hospitality. We ain't in the business of providing accommodations. There's other people for that. So we're never losing that humanity and hospitality.
Think about, we're all Gen X, right? Gen X is about our age, right? Is that where we're in? Okay. So think about, we're the last generation that used rotary telephones, and we got up from our couch and we changed the television channel. We didn't have a remote, right? Think about in our career. I remember my friend David Malilly. Okay, good friend of mine, you may know him. And he comes over to me, taps me on the shoulder, Lucerne Hotel on the Upper West Side of Manhattan when I was general manager. And he said, hey, I'm going to build a system for boutique hotels to have websites so people can book directly with their credit card. And I said, no one will ever use their credit card, you crazy SOB. I got to go back to work. I got kids and a wife to feed. You go run your business. He developed a multi-million-dollar business. So we come from that. We come from before people were using their credit cards to book rooms. So could you imagine what's going to happen in another 20 years? So what you're, and honestly, if the hotel business wasn't so bad at implementing technology in the last 20 years, because we sometimes we're so cumbersome. We put the wrong thing in and nobody uses it, and then we realize they want the simple thing. So in the things you're talking about right now, in a couple of years, it's going to just be seamless, just like the phone. Like, I haven't used a computer really outside of my podcast to run my business. I use my phone, and it's everything that we're talking about in a couple of years is going to sound silly.
And it's funny, just that one example you gave, you're right. A couple of decades ago, credit cards, I don't know about that. The reality is credit cards, within the next few years are going to be gone. So one of the ways we're investing our technology dollars is payment. Think of Starbucks. Who the heck ever runs a credit card at Starbucks now? The ordering and payment is so simple, and that then frees up people to actually, as you say, Glenn, have that human element.
Yeah.
That's cool. I love that attitude. And might I say, hey, adapting, Amazon.com. So
why is the A upside down?
Artistic. It looks cool.
No, you have to come up with a better reason for that. Because
I will ask Art Lurie, our art director, also a Brit, Danny, just so you know that Art's from the UK. So, Danny, so many opportunities to be had right now, and we want to bring on Laura from the Conrad in Washington. But if you could synthesize all that we've been talking about into one coherent thing that you're most excited about regarding opportunity that lays ahead, what would that be?
Oh, that's interesting. Just one thing. I think the chance to reinvent our industry and do something that you get once in a career opportunity. And as I said, with all deference to all the suffering that's happened, this is a once. I say to my team all the time, I say to myself, this is a once in a career opportunity to unleash the power of creativity and innovation and reinvent our industry to the benefits of the consumer and our owners. And listen, I unapologetically say that. We don't make money for our owners, then we won't be opening new hotels. We're lucky, develop never stopped for us. We opened more than a hotel a day last year in the middle of the pandemic. We opened 414 hotels. And that's a belief in our ownership community that this industry is an unstoppable force. Yeah. Travel is an unstoppable force because of the desire and the want. But we got to reinvent it, and we've got to unleash that innovation, and that's what I'm most excited about, I guess.
Would I be correct when I say that your company has more hotels in the pipeline than any of your competition? Would that be a correct statement?
We do. Our pipeline, we've got hundreds of thousands, over 200,000 actual room nights in the pipeline. We grew our net number of hotels and rooms last year by over 5% in 2020. So when you anticipate what can happen over the next decade, it's amazing. And it's absolutely amazing.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but why I have you here, I don't want to forget. I've been reading a lot and working a lot on some capital for a hotel. And where is the capital right now for hotels, for new owners coming in? I'm reading some positive things. I'm reading that whether it be banks or equity partners, it seems like money's starting to come back into the business. So what are you seeing?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. They're from, you start at the highest level, you look at private equity companies. I mean, they see this as a long-term opportunity. So private equity companies you're going to see a lot of transitions in hotels as well, guys. So it's not just new builds, but there are companies coming in that have traditionally perhaps invested in commercial real estate, in residential, office buildings, warehouses, and now saying, hey, hospitality's got real opportunity to grow. You're seeing that. You're seeing the banks that have had a terrible time as well. They've shown a lot of forbearance. They kind of went on hold, but they're now seeing the opportunity of growth. And I honestly predict, so in all forms of capital, I honestly think that by the time we get into the second half of the year, there's going to be a little bit of this what's that expression? FOMO, the fear of missing out. People are going to want in.
It's already starting now, Danny. I'm just feeling everything is coalescing to create a culture of opportunity out there. Last question I have for you before we bring on Laura. It can be a yes or no. Removing the human element from this question and all the suffering people have gone through, do you think Hilton will be better positioned 5 years from now if there had not been a pandemic or because of the pandemic? My hunch is that because you're able to reinvent stuff, you're gonna get to a place you never expected.
Yeah, that's a tough question, but I can honestly tell you there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I am more excited now. So I guess I'm answering yes. I'm more excited now about our future than I've ever been. And that's not false optimism. That's fact-based.
Right, because you have to rethink absolutely everything. And that's not something that we normally do when things are going well. And I think also in life, we are sometimes forced to make changes we otherwise wouldn't when we have such adversity hit us right in the face.
And
Absolutely.
the growth, everything you're going through, when you have an A team, A teams work really well under pressure. Matter of fact, that's where we excel, and that's where we need to live. know I work really, really well when I'm under the gun and there's a lot of pressure. And I'm actually most calm when things are, more desperate in the sense of we have competition. We have to make sure we're on a razor edge, and we have to make sure that we're doing everything right. I'm actually more calm, and I'm actually more focused, and I'm having more fun. So I think when you have a type personalities and you have a A+ team, it just seems that they work better when the worst thing you can do is take an A+ team and not give them too much to do.
No, I agree with you. And the last thing I'll say next, I know you want to get Laura, but
I feel guilty that she's not on yet.
When I first got this opportunity and to run the Americas, which is the honor of my life doing this, because it's in the country I love, in the company that's given me so much in life. One of the first things I said to all our team, we're going to recreate the golden age of the general manager, because it goes back to what you said, Glenn. We want all the technology to enable things, but we're at our heart in a business of people serving people. People's the foundation of everything we do. And I honestly think being a general manager of the hotel is one of the most fabulous jobs in the world in any industry, but it comes with huge responsibility, responsibility for your owners, your people, and your community. And it's these guys, these ladies and gentlemen, are going to lead us out of this until you say, reinvent us. And that's kind of at the core of everything we're doing.
Right. And that right there is why Hilton is consistently ranked one of the best companies to work for. Speaking about, general managers, let's bring on a real innkeeper, Laura Schofield, who is the GM of the Conrad Washington D.C., which is I'm not standing in front of right now.
We wish you were.
So do I. As much as I love the home studio, I love being out and about, interacting with people, and having real experiences, just like the American public is hoping to get back to. So how are things by you in Washington right now?
They're great. And, it's always a treat to hear Danny speak. It just so motivating. And, we here in DC, we absolutely share Danny's optimism for what's ahead of us. So it was so nice to hear so much of what we talk about every day, which is, for us, it's been an interesting couple of years, right? So I've opened the Conrad DC twice in a year. So we opened literally 12 months before COVID. And then we closed down for a few months, and then I got to reopen the hotel. So I don't know how many people get to reopen the same hotel twice in a year.
Make sure you did it right.
But it's, in many ways, it's been more meaningful the second time around. The first time, and I say this to my team members when we bring people back to work. The first time we did it, we were so excited. First Hilton luxury property in our own backyard. So exciting. Absolutely no pressure whatsoever. Never heard from Danny at all. And, the second time around, I say to my team, it's more meaningful because one, we're creating a safe environment for our guests and team members. And two, there's this industry we all adore. And we're part of building that trust from the public that it's safe to travel, and it's safe to dine. And we're part of that rebound of our industry. So even more meaningful because the more successful we are, the more quicker we get to bring our team members back to work. And then, like Danny said, the most exciting part is, I'm a second generation hotelier, as we were talking with Anthony before the show. And part of what got me into the business is I love hotel people. Hotel people are innovative and warm and caring. And so a huge part of what I challenge my team to do right now is innovation. We're creating the hotel of the future. And that's exciting. It's really exciting.
Yeah. And one of the things I really think going forward, hopefully, as I've been saying, is that we're all a lot more grateful than coming out of it than we were going in. And talking to your staff and talking to your housekeepers and talking to your bellmen in a real way. I always say when I run hotels, I don't know everybody's children's names and their husband's names. I don't. But one of the things that every single person knows when I'm running a hotel, that I care desperately.
Yes.
And I care deeply because I give them what they need. I listen to what they want. And every morning, every afternoon, every evening, I'm talking to them. I'm saying hello to them. And we, as you say, kind of bringing back the general manager. We need to bring back the general manager. And I think in our industry, because we ran so fast, that we promoted too quickly. And you see a lot of general managers in positions that don't belong there. And they were young front desk managers that showed up on time, did really great things, and they got promoted. And they were in a little bit over their head. And then corporate started taking over, and they didn't really become the general manager that we all are, and that we know that you need to be. You need to have a skill set to deal with people, to deal with finances, to deal with customers, and to deal with the reason I think the hospitality industry is going to be okay. I know they're going to be okay, is because we have skill set that most people don't have. And I just hope that those general managers, as you said, we go back to the golden age of general managers, that we really understand that the general manager has to really have that skill set, yeah. And going back to your point, Danny, before, housekeepers and doormen, and that's where the hotel's built, and you get your best ideas from it. You said it. You ask a housekeeper how can they be more efficient, and they'll tell you.
Absolutely. Nope, it is. All the innovation comes from the hotels, and the people like me and I that work above property. Our only job is to make life easier and better and give the support to Laura and her colleagues. And that's what we got to remind ourselves of every day.
Yeah, I'm just stuck here thinking about that classic 1979 Shalimar song, The Second Time Around. Singing it in my head.
Listen, if we don't get Glenn at a Fish concert soon, we're going to have to check him into a hospital.
Not good. I'm hoping summer 2021 tour is happening. I'm feeling good because, Danny's talking about that herd immunity. I really want to get back out there and go see that live music. Maybe I won't get to a Rolling Stone show, but I could give it a try. So,
but this is where innovation, and if I can just give Laura credit for one thing. I remember in the height of the pandemic here, one of the things that we prided ourselves when we opened the Conrad is having a great bar. We wanted a cool bar that people would want to come to, that they wouldn't want to go outside, where they can have great cocktails, great conversation, good food, and everything else like that. Now, of course, in the middle of COVID, where the contact with people weren't, and they didn't want open bottles and everything else like that, I went to see Laura in July, or when she first reopened the hotel. Went to see it, and this bar looked so cool, like it had always. But every single one, she'd taken all the miniatures out of the mini bars and had got other miniatures. So you had this full array of all the cocktail, of all the spirits and everything else like that, small mixer bottles. So every guest had their own pre-packaged thing, but you had a full bar, the full experience. And that's, just innovation and creativity.
I love that idea, Laura. Super creative and interesting, but it must be really tough for you to have to, try to win back that business. So every little thing that you're doing matters. How have you been approaching this? How are you saying, hey, we're here to welcome you with the open arms of hospitality beyond having little tiny bottles of alcohol, which I think is a great idea.
Thank you. Well, it's been really nice. I read our guest comments every day, and it's so lovely to read that. We have so many guests who it's their first time out of the house in a year, and they come into the hotel. And after their stay, they feel safe. They feel like they've had a great time away. And I give great kudos to my staff for just creating this warm environment. When Danny was talking about the bar, I give full credit to my director of food and beverage. He looked at the bar and he saw it in a completely different way. He saw it as this just gorgeous ability for a guest to walk up and get this beautifully packaged salad that was done in sort of a mason jar. So it could be taken away, but it was so much more than a prepackaged salad. And like Danny said, we took all the miniatures and created this fabulous cart, and you can come and make your own cocktail. We realized people were hungry for an experience, but in a safe way. And, in the hotel business, we have the right people for creating those experiences. And that, and like Danny was talking about earlier, we need to try and personalize and listen to what the guest wants when we've got that time. You don't have to stop at the front desk because you've got digital key, but we're gonna try and find a way to personalize your stay. And my team have been doing things like learning about a couple who had to postpone the European honeymoon. So she contacted all our hotels in Europe and they filmed videos and they sent personal messages, and we set up the whole room as an around the world. And
Wow.
that's what the team are enjoying doing right now. Or really, that's the business we're in. We're in the business of making memories and creating special personal moments. And I think, it's more important than ever. And this pandemic, there's nobody it hasn't affected. And so my director of front office, who actually created the special experience, it was very personal for her because she's from the Netherlands and she hasn't been home to see her family in over a year. So, so much resonates, I think, with our team members on a personal level right now.
Yeah. What I try to tell everyone is if you look in albums or you look on somebody's fireplace and you look at the family picture, okay, it's usually on vacation and it's usually in a hotel or around a hotel or in a restaurant. And it's usually a lot of times in the same hotel at the same week for the same, year after year after year. And they remember that housekeeper, they remember that general manager, they remember the owner of that little hotel. And what we do is, it seems because it's vacation and because it's a tourism and it's hospitality, it's almost frivolous, but it is almost as necessary as air, because the only thing that you're thinking about when you're working, if you have a family, is when are we going on vacation again?
Right.
No one's thinking, it's like, oh, when's my next meeting? We're always like, hey, when, like you, Danny, you were saying you were taking your kid right before the pandemic to a Rolling Stone concert at 13 years old, whether you wanted to go or not.
Right.
And as many meetings and excited you are for this business, there was that week, nothing meant more to you than bringing your kid, to a Rolling Stone concert. My daughter yesterday was telling me that she actually may get in the hotel business. We won't talk about it. I don't want to jinx it. And she's 21 years old and she was offered a position. So it's
Send me her resume.
Oh, don't tell me. I got 3 of them. They all seem to be wanting to go that way. So do you have any wedding planning opportunities?
We are convinced that the entire world is getting married right now.
Oh,
My catering team have never, ever fielded so many wedding leads as they have right now in their entire career. So love is alive, and people are very hopeful. And
so, Danny, I'm holding you accountable for getting my daughter a wedding planning job.
So,
You
Laura,
got it, my friend. You got it.
please continue.
With that?
All right. So, Laura, it sounds to me like you're going to have a lot of opportunity to fill that meeting space with all of this love that's out there. So are you seeing this as an ability to fill that space before the traditional corporate events business really starts ticking up? How are you kind of balancing all of that? And what is your perceptions of where we're going to be summer?
Absolutely. So, right now we're doing the little micro weddings, right? So with the restrictions, we're seeing a lot of people getting married, the little 10-person weddings, out on their outdoor space, which is become so in demand. But people are very hopeful, and we're seeing we're sold out for most of our dates in the fall already with the larger weddings. Because we've also seen a lot of people having the small wedding now and then still planning the larger wedding down the road. So, it's remarkable, especially I would say in the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've seen it accelerate as people are becoming much more hopeful about the future. So, I definitely see that, but also just with our group business, we've had very few groups actually completely cancel. We call them the tri-books, and they're now on to being the quadruple books because they just don't want to say they're not going to meet. They just keep moving the date. And that's exciting, I think. Just we're human beings and we want to see each other and we want to have that connection. So we're very, very hopeful about being able to fill that space very, very soon.
And people are saying that, meetings won't come back to the way they used to be. And I disagree. I agree. You still have that virtual component, but I think the virtual component would be for the people that weren't going to make it to the event anyway and couldn't make it to the event normally. And now you're going to have the in-person event, plus you're going to have more people virtually because hotels and event companies are becoming better at doing those events virtually.
Yeah, but you're right, Anthony. But it's interesting because one of the things, again, going back to technology and how you use technology, invest in technology, but don't make it replace the human element. We early on in this pandemic invested hugely in building out the capabilities to host hybrid meetings. So the basics, increasing the bandwidth and the pipe in all of our hotels, partnering with great AV companies. Because to your point, I actually think, in time, meetings are going to be bigger because everybody's going to go that went anyway because they need to. And then there's going to be all these people now that are going to have the capability to participate in a hybrid virtual element. And the businesses are going to win. And that's why, we're investing in that. It's not just looking at the space and saying, can you house my 2,000 people here? It's can you beam in my extra 5,000 people from all around the globe?
It's so true, because prior, Danny, all these meeting planners would be like, well, we can't have anything virtual because then people won't come to the event. A very poor decision. But now this crisis is, I think, awakened everyone to realize, oh, we can have our cake and eat it too in the future.
Well, you know what? It's the old saying too. It's like, well, people can't work from home because they won't be effective. I've been more effective I've ever been working from home, and most people I know seem to be more effective working from home. And it's good and bad because you don't ever stop working.
Yeah, I agree with you, Anthony. But I honestly believe people are, we're social animals, right? So whilst we may have that, it comes back to this desire and need thing that people want to, even if you're effective, you got to get. I was just talking to an investor yesterday who was talking about a hotel, very, very affluent gentleman, has a lot of disposable income. He has his team is 40 people. He said, yeah, I'm booking an event in July 1. He goes, and I'm going no matter what. Enough of this, I'm zoomed out. I am going. Then I asked him where he was going, and I wasn't so happy where he'd booked. But there, it's different.
But it's true. People are zoomed out. But the good news is you're still going to get the business groups. People are still going to travel. But it gives the flexibility for the parent, for to work, do a little work from home, maybe go in the office. And so I think it's going to be a good hybrid for a lot of people. But this whole notion of people not going to be traveling for business or groups is ridiculous. And Glenn and I are so zoomed out, our heads are going to explode.
Yeah.
But we'll be here every day at 12 o'clock, Monday through Thursdays, bringing you great live content.
That's right. So Laura, we realized that I had the opportunity to meet your dad when I did the one and only, the Langham Chicago, the show 5-Star Secrets, and I met your dad. And if anybody wants to see it, go to Discovery Plus, and you'll see the show 5-Star Secrets, and you'll see me and her dad hanging out. So he is known, obviously, in our industry, and he's got an incredible reputation. What is the one thing you learned from your father from watching him? Not something he told you, but something you learned by watching him.
Just constantly think about, what's next, right? You just don't sit back. You constantly think of how you can improve, right? We strive for excellence, but there's always room for us to do things in a different way and step outside the box and lead the way, and personalize. It's all, the business is. The business is complex, but it's really quite simple. We are just extending hospitality, and Hilton just nails it, right? We're extending the light and warmth of hospitality. That's what we do. We seem to make it terribly difficult and complex, but that is what we're all here to do. And
when the group manager and the revenue manager get along, and the front desk supervisor and the housekeeping supervisor get along, life is good. And if you run hotels, you understand what I just said. They certainly understand what I just said. And it's true. So what was the moment that you were like, I'm going to the hotel business? Were you 12 years old? Were you 30 years old? When did you realize I'm going in the hotel business?
I spent my childhood vowing I wouldn't go into the hotel business.
That's what I figured.
And then it was, it was my summers in college working in hotels, and and realizing that I'd grown up my life around hotel people. I'd been fortunate. I grew up all over the world. I lived in 15 different countries growing up, and the hotel world is exciting, and you get to see so many cultures and so many different people. And, I missed it when I wasn't around it. So it's very addictive. I say that to people all the time. It's addictive. And it's also, as we just realized today, it's a big industry, but it's really small. The people that are in this industry, it's a small world. And that's what makes it very intimate. And it's a wonderful business to be in. And you get to make this impact on people's lives, just your team members and your guests, which is exciting.
And it's only addictive if you really enjoy working hard.
Yes, true.
And you like building teams. And, because it's a service industry and there's a lot of entry level people that come into this industry not knowing what they were going to do. And all of a sudden they find themselves in a career. I don't think there's any other job in the world where you can start as a dishwasher and become the president of Hilton.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What other job? Somebody just asked me, what degree do I need to be in the hotel business? I said, you just need a degree of being a good person and show up. And sure, we would like to see some college or whatever. But now with COVID, there's an understanding that maybe you couldn't afford college. Just show up. And if you show up, your work performance it's almost like in theater or in movies or in acting. If you're good, you're good. If you can't fake it. When the camera's on you, you can't fake it. It's the same thing in this business. When you have 500 check-ins and 500 checkouts and the system went down, you can't fake it. If you're good, it's going to shine.
That's true.
And when we opened this hotel, it was really quite anticipated, and we had 13,000 people apply for our 350 jobs. And it wasn't a resume we were looking at; it was the personality. And it was my goal from day one that this hotel be filled with people who felt comfortable really being their authentic selves, and that is what was going to make the difference with our guests. And it was exactly what you're talking about. It's the person that genuinely wants to be here, that genuinely wants to interact with our guests and make a difference. And it's not what's on a resume.
Right. And the authentic self is being able to walk into your boss's office and say, "Boss, you're wrong."
Yes.
And like Danny, I would imagine with the title you have, people are a little intimidated to come in your office and say you're wrong. But with your personality and getting to know you over the last year, I would imagine in your position and your personality, people do feel safe.
Yeah, listen, this is what it's all about. It's I've learned so much more about hospitality in Washington D.C. from Laura than I could ever teach her. And Laura, I'm sure, will tell you everything. That's what it's about. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, we're about at the top of the hour. I can't believe how quick that went.
It did.
Let's start with you. How about some good, solid final thoughts? And feel free to shamelessly plug Conrad Washington DC.
We are very optimistic, and we welcome anyone to Washington, D.C. for a fantastic hotel, gorgeous views, lovely outdoor space, and we're just looking forward to a terrific 2021. We feel very good.
Would you like to host a very good-looking guy from Long Island and a short guy from Brooklyn?
Absolutely. Any day, Anthony.
Okay, Glenn, let's go to Washington in a couple of weeks.
We need to get back down there. We were in Washington in November. Washington's one of my favorite cities. I happen to go to University at Maryland, and I just have a real soft spot for it. And Laura, I was there a couple of years ago and was watching them build that, and I can't wait to actually see it. So
it's great. And our rooftop opens April 1st. So come have a cocktail on the rooftop and enjoy the city.
All right.
Those are very awesome. Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura.
Danny, a chance for some final thoughts. Danny, final thoughts, and feel free to plug Hilton all you'd like.
No, listen, people will look at Hilton's and look at all our great brands, and they'll make decisions. Here's the two things I'd say. Believe in the power of travel and interaction. It's going to unleash so much creativity, so much goodness in the world at a time when we need it. I joke, but I really do believe that our vision of spreading the light and warmth of hospitality can make the world a better place. And then the second thing I'll say is, don't let this opportunity go by. I pray, and every one of us prays, we never have this opportunity again to recover from this kind of thing. But we're getting the chance to do things that you'll never, ever get a chance to do again. We get to reinvent one of the great and most global industries there's ever been, hospitality. And people are going to benefit from what we do now for decades and centuries to come. Don't let this opportunity pass.
And I don't think anybody will ever take for granted what we have in travel and hotel business. And talking about that, we're all in this business. We all watch each other, right? We're competitors, but we're also, a lot of us are friends, and we learn from each other. What did you learn from Arnie?
So it's really interesting. It's I was trying to think during this call. I've actually thought about it quite a lot over the last few days. I think our industry was unbelievably blessed to have two genuinely visionary leaders. I happen to think our CEO Chris Nassetta is the best CEO in corporate America and beyond. And Arnie Sorensen was a very, very worthy rival. Those guys were friends. They kind of grew up in the same area together. They were competitors, but they were both forces of good for our industry. And the thing I think I learned from Arnie, and I watch Arnie, and he always conducted himself with style, dignity, and grace. And I think that, if you can, I try to do that. I never succeed as much as I want to. But at the end of the day, every interaction that we're always having should be the most important interaction of the day. And, after this call, which I'm spending time with wonderful people, I'm going to spend an hour doing a litigation review with our team. But for those people, for me to be engaged and on and actually committed is just as important. And I think Arnie always displayed that. And I think the industry was blessed to have him, and he's been a force of good, as well as making money for his shareholders. And at the end of the day, if you can make money for people, create opportunities for people, make the world a little bit better place, then it's a life well lived. And his life was cut way too short, but it was a life well lived.
When I think about him, and I never met him, but I really, when he passed away, I shed a lot of tears. And when I look at him, and I thought a lot about why I was so emotional. To me, there's no harder working person in the world than a person that is a ballet dancer. And to me, Arnie Sorensen was a ballet dancer because he did really hard stuff and he made it look really easy, and he was always elegant and he was always soft, but he was doing hard things. Like even the day he came out during the pandemic, the first time he came out, it was like a touchstone for the industry. And to me, it reminded me of a ballet dancer. Like you don't see how much they're suffering. You don't see how strong they have to be. You just see that fluid motion. And he was just pure fluid motion.
Yeah, a lot of grace and dignity. I agree with you.
Danny Hughes, thank you so much. We really appreciate you making
sir.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, my friend.
I'm just blown away by this whole week. I mean, today was incredible. Scott Sabella on Tuesday was amazing, helping find jobs for people on Monday. The job fair was great. Of course, highlight learning about your project yesterday. What a great week.
You just like me not being around.
No, I love being you around, dude. It's the best.
Yeah, it was a fun week. As you can tell by my eyes, I'm a little tired, but it was listen, man, at the end of the day, one of the things I've realized with all the entertainment I've done, 10 years of shooting shows and everything, I'm a hotel guy. And there's nothing I like more than being a hotel guy. If you ask me, what do I enjoy more, being on the set or being developing a hotel? It's not even close. Right.
Now, listen, I may not be a hotel guy, but I do also love helping hotel guys. And that's why I'm encouraging all of you to go check out Bright Support. Don't forget, they can help you lower those tax assessments because you didn't make as money last year. You shouldn't have to pay as much money in taxes this year. Book your free 30-minute consultation right now at brightsupport.net/hotels or give them a call at 833-411-2233 and tell them No Vacancy News sent you. Anthony, all right, let's wrap this show up. So I think the best way to say this is everybody out there, now is your time of opportunity, just like Danny said. And as he also illuminated, you're vibrating with love and light out there. You've got opportunities. Don't forget, you've only got one life. So blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
All right, everybody. See you next week. And don't forget Friday.